Yeah, the HSR team kind of cooked with this one. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw Aglaea's art, I wasn't like super into it. I thought it was like, oh, you know, she's pretty, whatever. But, you know, I just kind of assumed, oh, this is a filler character. We're not gonna really care about this that much. Dude, she looks so good in game, it's insane. But not only does she look good, she does a lot of damage under the right circumstances. Welcome to my Aglaea pre-release video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you my first impressions on Aglaea, as well as showing you how I'm building her, and also what characters she works with, so you can make an educated decision on if this is the character you want to go for. As a quick heads up, there will be a premium team showcase at the end of the video if you guys want to see what that looks like. Also, I will be out of town at the time of Aglaea's release, so if you guys want to watch another guide that'll go into specifics about Aglaea, I highly recommend checking out Huohuo Certified. His guides are really good. With that said, this is on the creator experience server for 3.0, which means that this is an early version of the character, and it's possible some things could change from now until her release. But she is in the game files, so I don't really expect her to change much. So if you didn't know, Aglaea is the first premium character that has a memo sprite on them. Our first memo sprite character was technically Remembrance Trailblazer, but you get them for free. So she is the first 5-star that you actually can like pull on a banner for. That's going to have a memo sprite. And her memo sprite works in an interesting way where it just stacks up a ridiculous amount of speed and has its own actions that it takes to dish out a fair bit of damage. With that said, Aglaea's actual gameplay and optimization, so far from what I've experienced, seems very complicated. She's not super difficult to play, but if you want to make sure that Aglaea is doing the most damage possible, it can require speed tuning from your entire team, not just Aglaea. And let's be honest, that applies to every character in the game to some degree, right? Like if you want to play a character at their max potential, you need to speed tune their whole team. But I would say that Aglaea is a little bit different because of how her ultimate and her memo sprite actually work. So I'm gonna go ahead and showcase her in a free-to-play team for you guys. I'll explain her kit and show you some positives about her kit and some negatives. But first, I'm gonna highlight her build so you guys know what we're using. So we are using a 3-star light cone. Now, her signature light cone is better. It's just straight up better, but this one is decent if you don't have her signature, which is, you know, it's surprising, but there's not a lot of 4-star Remembrance light cones yet, and this one is pretty decent. And then for traces, we have everything maxed out. We have no Eidolons activated. We do have 6 Eidolons, but none of them are actually on. And as for relics, we're running Hero of Triumph and Song. This is going to be the 4-piece that's dedicated to Aglaea specifically. The 2-piece is an attack increase, which honestly she doesn't really need. But the 4-piece is a speed buff whenever you have your memo sprite up, which ideally should be 100% of the time. And then you're also getting a crit damage buff on both her and the memo sprite. On this, we're running crit rate. This is because a lot of the characters she pairs with, Remembrance FC and Sunday specifically, give you a ton of crit damage, and you just likely don't really need it. Plus, you're also getting crit damage from the set effect of this. So odds are you're good on crit damage. Most of the time, you're gonna need crit rate. Then speed boots, because that's what we simulated for more damage. And then a lightning damage orb on the Banana Amusement Park, which is the crit damage buff for her again. So, you know, more and more crit damage. And then lastly, an energy regen rope. Now, a lot of people are going to take issue with this, especially if you simulated the damage, right? If you simulate the damage and you have no energy issues, attack is better. It's like 10% better. It makes way more sense. However, if you have any energy issues at all, which is likely to happen in a completely free-to-play team, the energy regen rope could be the difference between you actually taking an entire cycle less or not. I'm going to showcase the energy regen rope. Just know that in her best teams, it's simulated that attack rope is going to be better. And in a free-to-play setup, you might opt for energy regen. It's just completely based on the content and your situation. And I'll highlight this when we get into the actual fight. So with that said, let's get into Memory of Chaos and I'll explain what she does. All right, so basically the technique that we just used, like right off the bat, I'm gonna move my camera here. Technique that I just used right off the bat instantly summons Garment Maker. Now, Garment Maker basically enables everything that Aglaea does. So your goal is to keep Garment Maker out and attacking as much as possible. Oh, and on top of that, for the technique, after the summon, it also gives you 30 energy to Aglaea, which is nice because Aglaea's energy cost is 350 energy for one ultimate. So yeah, guys, those energy funneling characters are gonna be real nice. That's why we got Tingyun in the 100% free-to-play team, but I'm gonna be honest, Tingyun isn't even enough, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So what does Aglaea actually do? Well, first off, Aglaea summons Garment Maker. You can do this with your skill, you can do this with her ultimate, and you can also do it with her technique, which is what I recommend for endgame because it's free. When summoning Garment Maker, they have 35% of Aglaea's speed and HP based on Aglaea's max HP as well. And essentially, whenever Aglaea attacks and Garment Maker is on the field, Aglaea will apply Seam Stitch. Seam Stitch just makes it so that after taking an attack from Aglaea, they receive extra damage, but there are other benefits to Seam Stitch as well. And as you can see here, you apply Seam Stitch when you attack. Also, just because it says it right here, if you're below 50% energy before you start battle, you'll get to 50% energy as soon as you start it. But going back to Seam Stitch, it has a very important role, because if we go to Garment Maker, the Memo Sprite, and we go over to their talent, you can see that after they attack an enemy that has Seam Stitch, it increases Garment Maker's speed by 55 at level 6 talent. Which is the highest you can get without Eidolons. And now that 55 can stack up to 6 times, which if you don't know, that's effectively 330 speed. So that plus whatever they have from Aglaea's speed is crazy. That means they're going to be attacking very often, right? Also, if Garment Maker disappears, you get 20 energy for Aglaea, but the goal is to not allow that to happen. Ideally, we don't want Garment Maker to disappear. And lastly, just because, again, it's here on the talent, if Garment Maker does happen to disappear, you can actually retain one of the stacks of the speed boost, so that way you can get started a little bit faster when you resummon them. But our goal, as I've said in this video, is to show you how not to do that, because you don't want to resummon it because of this mechanic that comes from Aglaea's ultimate. First off, if Garment Maker isn't there, it'll summon them, and if they're already on the field, it'll restore their HP. But the most important part is Supreme Stance, because when you're in Supreme Stance state, which happens after you activate her ultimate, Aglaea also gains the speed boost stacks from Memo Sprite, except it increases her speed by 15% per stack. So essentially, your Memo Sprite and Aglaea are both going to be moving super fast and attacking really often. You also get an enhanced basic attack that does more damage, which is great. And with one of her major traces, you also get a huge attack increase. This attack increase is a little insane, I'm not gonna lie. So increases Aglaea and Garment Maker's attack by an amount equal to 720% of Aglaea's speed plus 360% of Garment Maker's speed. So that attack increase is nuts, and I'll show you when we get it here in a second. Now, something to note is that this doesn't actually have a turn limit. What it is a countdown on the action bar, much like Firefly's countdown to exit her enhanced state. It has its own speed set at 100, and if you use her ultimate again before it comes up, it resets. But here's the biggest problem with Aglaea, and I need you to understand this is probably the hardest part of playing Aglaea. When the countdown ends, if you don't use another ultimate to reset the countdown, Garment Maker disappears. And when Garment Maker disappears, Aglaea's enhanced state ends. And when Aglaea's enhanced state ends and Garment Maker disappears, you're not only losing all of that attack buff, but you're also losing all of the speed buff. And to stack it up again, you have to attack with Garment Maker. So basically, if this summon disappears, you reset your speed stacks down to, well, you get the extra one that you retain, but you have to keep restacking the speed, which then restacks the attack bonus, and you basically have to ramp up your character again. So the goal is to never have to re-up the character's buffs. So with that said, I think I'll just show you how she plays. We're not going to use her skill at all. She's an SP positive character technically, which is fantastic. She doesn't recover skill points from her enhanced attack, but she's not spending them either. So, you know, it's not bad. And also real quick, 3-star light cone. Victory in a blink, 4-star craftable. We're using Dance 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 on Tingyun and post-op conversation on Gallagher. Let's get into it. So we're going to summon Mem so we can start getting energy or charge towards the energy. I'm going to go ahead and use Tingyun's ult on Aglaea to give her as much energy as possible when we're at 100% already. Okay, so the first thing to know, and I'll move my camera here so you can kind of see what's going on because I didn't show you guys that. When you're using Mem's action forward, typically, if you're in Aglaea's ultimate, you want to action forward Aglaea. But if you're not in Aglaea's ultimate, you want to action forward Garment Maker. So we're going to action forward Garment Maker here because we're not in Aglaea's ultimate. Garment Maker's going to attack, grab us an extra stack, which is going to help out with the speed. We're going to go and skill on Tingyun. We're going to skill Aglaea. And now we basic attack with Aglaea. So let's get this out of the way. We're almost to our ultimate, but it's going to take us a second because we don't have any characters that instantly give us a ton of energy or anything on this team outside of Tingyun. And as noted before, it takes 350 energy for Aglaea, which is disgusting. So go ahead and basic attack here. And now we're on Remembrance MC. So typically in this team, you can actually just spam skill and Remembrance MC, which gives you more mem charge. So we're going to do that, even though we don't need a ton of energy. We're at 4 skill points. We're chilling. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to ult immediately just to get that charge up. And then Aglaea's close to ulting. Now, Aglaea's ult does give her an action forward, so we want to make sure that we use her turn first, just so that way we get the extra turn and the extra stacks. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, since we don't actually have to worry about skill points that much, I'm just gonna keep scaling on Tingyun to try and fill up her energy. Boom, Aglaea, we're gonna go ahead and attack with her, and then we're gonna instantly ult. So, and now we're gonna go ahead and use our enhanced basic attack, which is gonna do a lot more damage. So boom, 159k. That's pretty good. It's not insane. It's not like busted, but it's pretty good. Hey, so I'm recording this post video. I noticed that I kept calling our basic attack an enhanced basic attack, which is technically true. But if you want to get even more technical, it's a joint attack, which is a term that I think we will be using in the future to try to describe multiple characters attacking basically together. This could be a new archetype in the future. I don't know. But when I say enhanced basic attack, I do mean joint attack as well. Just wanted to be clear. We're going to go ahead and skill on Remembrance Trailblazer because we can. It's free. Plus 40 energy, and we have to skill on Gallagher to cleanse Tingyun here because what the hell was that? Now we can ult with Tingyun and give that to Aglaea. So I told you guys that I would show you her attack stats after she gets to 6 stacks, which we're finally at. You guys just need to see these stacks actually, because this is crazy. So we go in here, as you can see, our Aglaea has 5,835 attack. Yeah, that's insane. Garment Maker sitting at a comfy 5.2k, and as you can see, 383 speed. These characters get so many buffs, it is crazy. But again, you have to ramp up the character. You can't just instantly start them off and they're like fine. So we're gonna go ahead and basic attack this guy. Boom, 300k, pretty good, pretty good. And we almost have another ult for Aglaea, which is fantastic. We did get Mem's action forward up, so now what we want to do is we actually want to use it on Aglaea rather than Garment Maker because we're in Aglaea's ultimate state. And ideally, we'll just have that the entire time. Boom, Aglaea comes up. And since we're at max stacks, we are going to lose out on a little bit of damage here, but I would rather just apply Seam Stitch to this guy. So we're going to do that. Boom, Seam Stitch applied because the guy in the middle is already almost dead. I'm going to just ult on Gallagher because we're wasting energy here and we can heal up a couple people, which is going to be nice. And then we want to skill on Aglaea with Tingyun. The thing is, Tingyun will run out of buff pretty quick because of how often Aglaea is actually going to move. But because this team isn't super skill point heavy, it just doesn't really matter. So we'll do that. We don't have to skill on anyone coming up, so we'll skill on Remembrance Trailblazer. And we have her ultimate once again. Now, here's the important thing. If we did not have her ultimate, we would run out here and it would be Jover. This is one of those things where you either have to get lucky with the enemies hitting you, or you have to run an energy regen rope, or in some instances, you have to actually do both. Because as you can see, we have an energy regen rope on right now. We are doing less overall damage per hit, but now we have our ultimate back right before her action comes up, which is super important. Now we're gonna go ahead and do this, let Garment Maker attack, which is gonna be chill. And then we're gonna go ahead and ult again, action forward. Boom, huge. You also don't have to let Garment Maker attack there. I think I did it because I'm used to playing with Sunday, but that's fine. And I want to save our action forward for the next cycle here. So hopefully we can just clear this guy out really fast. It only did 12k that time, which isn't great. Not the best, but this should kill him. All right, so now that we're in a new cycle, this thing is back down here, whereas Aglaea is way up here, right? So we're getting to attack with Aglaea a lot more again, and we have this chance to get the energy back before it's too late. However, there is a chance that we don't get enough energy in time because look how much energy we need. We are at 89 out of 350 energy. So we're gonna need a miracle to be able to keep this up. So I'm gonna go ahead and basic attack with Aglaea, and then we should get an instant action forward from Mem, which is gonna be super nice. Action forward on Aglaea, boom. And then Aglaea's gonna basic attack one more time. Give us some more energy. And dude, that damage is actually pretty nuts. I'm gonna go ahead and skill Aglaea, give her that attack buff, which, dude, if I'm gonna be real with you guys, Tingyun's attack buff barely does anything in this compared to all of the other buffs she's getting. So it's not even super necessary, but you know, it helps and you have the free skill points, so why not, right? Aglaea is coming up. There is a chance that we actually do get to Aglaea ult before it's too late. So we're gonna focus on Aglaea. This is actually a reason you wanna put her in the second slot for this MOC. So she's right here, you can cleave the main boss. So I would recommend putting her in that second slot. But anyways, we're gonna basic attack the Aglaea clone here because once we do, and we actually kill them, then we're gonna dish out more damage to the Giver, Master of Legion's Lance of Fury. And oh, look at us, 349. So when Garment Maker attacks, we're saved. We'll basic attack this time on Tingyun. Garment Maker's attacking. I'm gonna ult immediately because we don't wanna lose those stacks, and look how close that thing is, right? So we're ulting, it's gonna reset. Holy cow, we're saved. All right, the Aglaea on the right is gonna die to cleave here if we do this, so I'm gonna go ahead and just attack the main boss. Should be fine. And then we want to focus on Tingyun here. So I'm going to skill so we can get Remembrance Trailblazer energy. I'm going to wait until Aglaea attacks. And we're going to go ahead and attack the Tingyun clone just so we can get 2 of these down. So basic attack. And then we're going to use our ultimate on Remembrance Trailblazer. Bring up Aglaea once more. Get that sweet energy from all of our basic attacks. And oh, we could really use a Gallagher ult right now. We could really use a Gallagher ult. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the boss with this just because that's what we're going to be targeting. And then we're going to ult Aglaea as well and just hope that we can get enough energy, but it is looking grim. We are at 299 out of 350. Skill on Mem. We're gonna go ahead and use this. And we do have an ult up again, dude. Thank goodness. This is so good. This is such good RNG because I just did 2 runs in a row where this didn't work. We didn't get enough energy because we weren't cleaved enough and we had to reset, which is easily Aglaea's biggest issue. So we're gonna go ahead and basic attack one more time and 696k. Guys, keep in mind, right? We're not doing sustainless. We're not doing like triple supports. We're using a 3-star light code, right? So this is nuts. But yeah, the boss should be dead here in just a moment. Pull up Aglaea once more. Basic attack. Holy! In that sequence was like about 1 million damage. That's nuts. Will we run into the energy issue? I'm really hoping not, so I can keep showing you guys this. But if we do, then I'll explain how you fix it. All right, skilling on Mem. And we're gonna make sure that we attack Aglaea's clone because we just have to. We don't really have a choice. Skill on Tingyun. Now we can ult Aglaea as well for more energy. Thank goodness for that RNG. And the MOC buff came in clutch and gave us extra energy, so thank goodness. But since Aglaea is moving immediately, I'm gonna go ahead and basic attack here. And then I'm gonna ult. And we're gonna go again, because why not? We can. She's her. You know, we can just keep going. 767,000. Dude, look at those attacks. Oh my gosh. All right, we'll skill Aglaea again to get some energy. Dude, Garment Maker going crazy. That was a really unlucky Mem moment there to bring forward Aglaea, but it could have been avoided if we basic attacked with Tingyun, so that's something to think about. Maybe that was a misplay looking forward into the future, but that is okay. So what we're gonna do, because we're not quite close enough to get it with this basic attack, right? We're gonna go ahead and ult on Aglaea to make sure that she has her ult up and we're not gonna run into energy issues. I'm gonna go ahead and skill on Remembrance Trailblazer to get her ult ready. A basic attack. Then we're gonna ult and go forward one more time, baby. We skill again, and then we go ahead and use Remembrance Trailblazer's ultimate, 89% charge. Pretty good, pretty good. We're gonna Gallagher ult just to get some heals out. And then when Mem attacks, we also get another action forward, which again, isn't perfectly timed with Garment Maker, but that's okay. We're not gonna worry about that too much. Then we're gonna go and basic attack again. And it's so much damage all coming out at once. Again, 3-star light cone, guys. How much energy we had? 81 out of 130. This wouldn't be enough to get her ultimate, but since we have the skill points, let's just do it. Skill here. And then hopefully this will just do the trick. Yeah, 863k. 3-star light cone, E0 character, by the way. Now that was 4 cycles. I took 1 cycle on the first half, and obviously 4 cycles doesn't feel very good, but keep in mind, guys, they inflated the HP of MOC a ton. And you can definitely do better, right? If you get luckier with the crits that you get land, or if, you know, you get more energy to one specific character, that can change. If you change your comp, obviously this can change. With a premium team, you can do 1 cycle easily, and if you go sustainless, you can easily do 0. So it all kind of just depends on like how much investment you put into this character and how much you want her to be incredibly successful in the MOC. Now, we didn't actually run into the energy issue that time, but it needs to be said because a lot of people are not going to understand this. The memory turbulence that I'm recording with is at the start of each cycle regenerates 20% energy for all allies. This allowed me to get Tingyun's ult faster. This allowed me to get an extra 70 energy for Aglaea at the start of a new cycle. So if we were short on energy and it wasn't gonna work, we would have been screwed. On top of that, if we didn't have energy regen rope, 99% chance we would have been screwed there, right? And this is one of the biggest issues with Aglaea that I think everyone needs to be aware of. I'm not going to hype up this character and just be like, oh my God, she's so broken, like she's so insane, and she has no problems whatsoever. Her damage is really good when she's played in the right team in the right situations, but unfortunately, she does have some bottlenecks, and those bottlenecks are energy. When the MOC blessing goes away and you're not getting that 20% energy every cycle, you're gonna have to get a lot luckier, and energy regen rope is going to be mandatory unless you have some other really important characters. In fact, let me just show you. So here is her premier team, in my opinion, if you're not going to run sustainless. I don't recommend running sustainless unless you are a seasoned veteran at this game and you really know what you're doing, or you just have incredible persistence. Trailblazer, Aglaea, Sunday, and Huohuo work incredibly well together. Trailblazer obviously for the action forward and the true damage, because Aglaea gets so many buffs, she gets so much crit damage from your other teammates, and she also gets so much attack that one of the only things that can really buff her outside of just more damage percent is true damage, because true damage is just a repeat of the damage you did, but a percentage of it, which means that if it's giga buff damage, there's no like diminishing returns. So remember, the Trailblazer is great for that. Plus, you're trying to generate so much energy from the follow-ups and from her basic attack and their speed being so high that you're gonna get a lot of mem charge. But on top of that, Sunday and Huohuo are very important. If you have Sunday, Aglaea is actually a really good pull. I think if you don't have Sunday, it's going to be a little bit tougher for you to get the most out of her, because Sunday feels like he was, in a way, not only built for Jingyuan, the first lightning summon character, but also the second lightning summon character, Aglaea. Sunday gives you 20% of your max energy. If you don't know, that is 70 energy on Aglaea. You get 70 energy when you ult with Sunday. With Huohuo, you get the same thing, 20% energy, and that's another 70. So these two characters' ultimates can get you an extra 140 energy, which is not even half of Aglaea's max energy, but dude, it helps. It helps a lot. It is one of the most important things for playing her. Now, if you're playing Sunday and Huohuo, you can play an attack rope on Aglaea and you'll be fine. You'll dish out a lot more damage, and you have the premium supports, so you're gonna get more attack from Huohuo. You're gonna get some energy, some action forward, some damage percent, and some crit from Sunday. You're getting crit from Trailblazer. So this team is cracked. This team does crazy numbers. And again, because Aglaea isn't SP negative, she's just kind of like plus SP until you get your ult out, and then you're just like static, like even SP, you have no issues, which is fantastic. I'm not going to say you need Sunday and Huohuo, but these characters are incredibly important for Aglaea if you want to max her damage, and especially after the MOC buff is gone, you're going to really feel the difference. But with that said, there are free-to-play alternatives, like Tingyun can give you a lot of energy, especially if you have her E6, which basically increases the amount of energy she gives you from her ult from a solid 50 up to 60 energy, right? So it's not as much as Sunday ult or as Huohuo ult, but it's still some extra energy, which is nice. What we're kind of really waiting on is more 4-star characters that give energy, but I can understand why they locked that behind 5 stars, because clearly it's broken, right? If there was a bunch of characters that could just give a ton of energy, teams would not play the same anymore. They would play entirely different. But yeah, she really needs it. Gallagher's just a good budget healer if you need a 4-star one, because maybe you're a 5 stars are occupied or something. This is definitely one of the strongest Aglaea teams, and this is one of the better free-to-play teams if you don't have access to Sunday or Huohuo. And once again, I wouldn't run attack rope on her if you're playing her with this team. I would definitely consider it if you're running this team. But even then, you could still run into energy issues if you're just not taking any attacks or anything. So energy rope is safer. Attack rope is viable if you have a bunch of energy sources, because otherwise her ult is going to end and you're going to lose Garment Maker and you're going to lose all of the buffs, and it's going to take you many turns to get them back. So these are your energy gaining supports. And then also Quid Pro Quo is a great light cone to have on your sustainer. If you have the option, it can be very valuable. It can be very valuable. Obviously, it is random, but you know, it's free energy, so it's not really bad by any means. I wouldn't recommend Bilo. I'm just, you know, saying Quid Pro Quo. If you guys didn't get that, this is going to get taken out of context on Twitter somewhere. They're going to be like, Braxton, Bilu's the best partner for Aglaea, and then I'm gonna get like canceled by HSR Theory Crafters or something. And then also your action forward characters are just very good. Sunday, Robin, and Sparkle are all great, and then Remembrance MC just feels like she was meant to, or he or she, depending on who you have, was meant to play with Aglaea. So very solid pick and free to play friendly. Sparkle can work, Sunday can work, Robin can work, Bronya can work, but just like Sunday's just objectively better there. And the attack buffs that Bronya gives aren't like super impactful for her specifically. So it's just something to think about, but you know, you have the budget option. I just wouldn't run Bronya over any of these characters. Now you can run preservation units, it's fine, but I will say there are dangers for every single one. Japar just has the issue of he usually can't get his ultimate up in time to shield everyone permanently, but that's just a Japar issue. That's not really an issue with Aglaea. Fushuan though, she can take damage for memo sprites. So if an enemy's just like wailing on your team, Fushuan can just get deleted like really fast. She's fine and it works, but it's something to be aware of if you get unlucky. And then Aventurine is also okay, but one thing to think about is that when you have preservation characters out, that does give them more taunt value. You can place them next to Aglaea to try and get her more energy, but there also are going to be single target attacks that are probably going to hit the preservations and take away from Aglaea's energy. And God, she needs it so bad. She needs the energy so dang bad. So I prefer to run healers, but you know, to each their own. So it's been established that Aglaea's biggest issue is her energy, right? Like by far, it's not even close. The amount of energy that she needs is absurd. Well, they did try to fix that by making it so her Eidolons and Light Cone are very enticing. Now, her Light Cone isn't really an energy fix by any means. It just increases her base speed by 12. Keep in mind, this is her base speed. This is different from increases speed. All right, let me show you increases speed. Launcha's Light Cone gives everyone a speed buff, right? That's gain 12 speed. Gaining base speed means it's added to her default sort of speed stat, which means that anything that gives her a percentage increase in speed would scale off of the new base speed, which means her speed buffs scale even harder. And also Garment Maker is going to be a little faster too. Just that speed can help you get a couple more attacks and more energy. It also means that, you know, your speed tuning might change, but it increases your basic attack damage dealt, and it also gives you crit damage bonuses, which is like, you know, that's pretty good. The Eidolons are what, in my opinion, are kind of disgusting though. Enemies afflicted by Seam Stitch take 15% increased damage. That is on her basic attack. That is not damage bonus. That's Vuln. Now that's a lot of damage, right? But that's not even the craziest part, because after Aglaea or Garment Maker, her summon, attacks the target, she gets 20 extra energy. So this is absurd. I honestly had a hard time believing how busted this was. So this is an edit that I added later into the video because I wanted to verify that what I was saying was actually correct. And oh my God, it really is that broken. So it seems like just some extra energy, and it's a lot of extra energy, right? If you basic attack, you do 20. If you joint attack, you also do 20 because you have the 10 from Aglaea and 10 from Garment Maker. When Garment Maker attacks alone, that's 10. But then like you add an extra 20 to all of those things. But what's crazy about it is that if you joint attack, it counts as both Aglaea and Garment Maker attacking at the same time. So you're not just getting 40 energy from an attack, you're getting 60. I need you to understand how insane this is. If you were to attack 15 times to get 300 energy, you now would only have to attack 5 times. This just completely eliminates any energy issues, like at all. Like they're just gone, they're out the window. So Garment Maker's solo attacks are getting 30, and your basic attacks are getting 60, and you're already, you know, fast as hell. You're doing a lot of attacks as is. Like, this is crazy. This is a stupid strong Eidolon. This locks so much potential power behind an Eidolon, so much functionality behind an Eidolon. It is really absurd. Now, I haven't gotten to test E2. No, I haven't actually gotten to test E2, but this might be the same thing. This might be whenever Aglaea or Garment Maker attacks. Jesus, I can speak, I swear. You ignore 14% of enemy defense. It can stack up to 3 times per attack done by Aglaea or Garment Maker, and it resets when another ally takes action. If this stacks the same way that E1 does, then you're ignoring 28% of their defense because a joined attack with Aglaea using her basic attack would immediately get you 2 stacks. But again, I haven't actually gotten to test that one specifically, so I'll pin a comment when I figure it out. E3 is a skill and basic attack level up, as well as Memo Sprite talent. And then E4 is basically a bonus to the amount of speed stacks you can get. So now the max has been increased from 6 stacks to 7. This also affects your attack buff that you're getting, which is kind of crazy. And I'm also assuming that if you have E4, you probably have her Light Cone, which increases her base speed. So that's pretty nuts. It also makes it so that when Aglaea uses an attack, Garment Maker can get the speed boost effect from the talent. It doesn't have to just be Garment Maker. But honestly, that part you probably won't feel as much because the joint attack also does the same thing. So E5 is an ult and talent level up, as well as Memo Sprite skill. And then E6 is a res pen for lightning damage via Aglaea and Garment Maker, as long as you're in her ultimate. If you fall out of her ultimate, you lose that. But if you're at E6, you're not going to fall out of her ultimate. It also makes it so that the higher Aglaea or Garment Maker speed is the greater damage you actually dish out, up to a max of 60% more. So yeah, I mean, pretty crazy. If you want to see a visual of what I'm talking about, here's the simulated E1 gains. So that's pretty absurd. Now this can change, you know, based on the content, based on the teams that you have available, based on your build, but goddamn. E2 is like a 20%-ish increase. E6 is like another 50%, which is pretty big. So overall, you are getting a big increase from Eidolons. But, you know, if you want to go for E6, that's whatever. I'm not going to encourage it. I do think if you are planning on being like an Aglaea main, like if she's your gal, then E1's probably a pretty good pickup, but you don't need it. I would say what's probably more important than her E1 is going to be Huohuo on Sunday. Like realistically, her E1 is going to be crazy value for her specifically, but Huohuo and Sunday on your account are going to be way more beneficial because they are able to be used in so many more teams, and they're just universally good supports. So if you were picking between picking up Sunday and Huohuo versus like her E1, I would definitely pick up these two, but that all is just based on your perspective and what you want out of your account. So I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to tell you how to build her and what to use. My first impressions when I started playing Aglaea was like, oh, this is a whale unit. And now I don't really think she's a whale unit, but I definitely think that her E1 gives her way too much value. I'm a little upset about how much power is locked behind that, but it kind of is what it is. Just remember that, like, if you have ways of generating energy outside of just Tingyu, and like if you have Huohuo and Sunday, you can run attack rope and it's simulated to be better. Otherwise, I would highly recommend energy regen rope, man. That is crazy good. And then also using this 3-star reminiscence is really good on her. All right, so here's the light cone ranking. Essentially, you know, her signature good, Sweat Now Cry Less is the Battle Pass light cone. You won't be able to get S5 right away, but that's fine. Reminiscence does actually come out ahead of Genius's Greetings, which is really funny to think about. The reason is because she just gets so much attack from her other buffs that there's just not really like a huge need for a super high base attack stat. So just the bonuses from Reminiscence just end up being a little bit more. Here's a comparison, just like a graph of all the damage differences. Anyways, I've yapped long enough. I promised you guys a showcase at the end of this video, so feel free to watch it if you want. And this will have the premium team, so you guys can kind of see how that plays as well. I do think Aglaea is good. I don't think she's a must pull, and I do think that she is going to be more worth your time if you have Sunday Huohuo. If you don't have those characters, she will be less worth your time. But don't let that stop you from pulling her if you like her. So I'll catch you guys next time.